Thanks for listening. This is Brian Hurley from Business Performance Improvement. The podcast Lean Six Sigma Bursts are short lessons, comments, Q&A, and insights. If you have a question, send your question through the Anchor app, and we might feature you on a future episode. Or contact me at biz-pi.com. Before making any improvements, we want to collect data to figure out where we are right now. This will also allow us to see if any of the improvements we make actually work, as we can compare our data before and after the improvements. To make things simple, we picked 4 different types of data you could use for your project. If you decide that one of these 4 are not applicable, you may change and use something else. But we thought we'd use some of the more frequently used improvement metrics. One you could use, the most common one, is process time. How fast or how long does it take? You can use your phone or a stopwatch to time yourself, for example, making coffee. Make sure you include all the time, including the setup and the cleanup activity. As much as possible, try to collect data on your efforts multiple times, so you have more than one record. The second option is to count up the number of items that you have. We recommend gathering all the items together, as you see in the bottom right picture. Looks like a pile of shoes. And count all of them at the very beginning. Then at the end, if you've been able to reduce those down by a significant amount, then you can show that you've improved. A third option is to measure the floor space. How much room or space does your items take up? You can do a rough estimate by stepping off the area, or you can use a tape measure to actually determine the volume or the floor space. This can be used for areas such as storage space or shelf space. And finally, you can use success rate. In other words, how often do you successfully do the task? You can take the number of items that you completed successfully divided by the total attempts that you had. So for example, if we were measuring how often you floss, you could look at the total number of days that you flossed in a month divided by the total number of days in the month. If you flossed 15 days out of the 30 days, then you'd have a 50% success rate. And at the end of the project, if you're able to improve that to 70 or 80%, you could show an improvement. Now it's your turn. Go back to your home improvement charter, and you'll notice that those 4 metrics are listed in the table. Select at least one of the metric and collect data on your current performance or current metric. For the making mouthwash process I explained earlier, it took me 5 minutes and 46 seconds to go through the whole process. That's my current baseline for my improvement. Process mapping is one of the fundamental tools for process improvement. If you don't understand how your current process operates, it's very difficult to improve it. A process map is simply a visual diagram showing all the steps of a process. It makes it very easy for people to understand the process and to teach it to others. It's just simply made up of shapes and symbols and a limited number of words. In the example on the right, you can see a clean house flow chart on all the steps needed to finish the laundry, put away the clothes, and make sure nothing is left out. Another type of process mapping is called the spaghetti diagram. Spaghetti diagram shows the travel path for somebody when they operate and do their process. Here's an example of somebody making food. You can see the back and forth from the sink to the fridge, over to the dishwasher, back to the counter, to the pantry, back to the sink, and back to the fridge. Many travel points. The longer the lines, the more distance traveled, and the longer the process takes. After looking at the spaghetti diagram, ideas can be generated to change the layout or the order of operations to minimize the travel distance. Now it's your turn. For your process, either create a simple process map like that shown on the left, or a spaghetti diagram. In the spaghetti diagram below, you can see this is the travel distance for the process for making mouthwash for my project. The yellow star represents the location of where the process occurs, and the blue lines represent the travel distance to go gather the supplies and put them back. As you can see from the map, there are opportunities to reduce distance traveled, which will help reduce the time it takes to complete that task. Lean6sigmadefinition.com has a list of glossary items about popular process improvement terms, along with a history of Lean and Six Sigma methods, and key influencers like Dr. Edward Stemming, Henry Ford, Taiichi Ono, Shigeo Shingo, and many more. You can also learn how to access affordable Lean and Six Sigma training and certification. Visit leansixsigmadefinition.com.